You're listening to Make Some Noise Minisode number 564. Welcome to Make Some Noise podcast, your guide for strategies, tools, and insight to empower yourself. I'm your host, Andrea Owen, global speaker, entrepreneur, life coach since 2007, and author of 3 books that have been translated into 18 languages and are available in 22 countries. Each week, I'll bring you a guest or a lesson that will help you maximize unshakable confidence, master resilience, and make some noise in your life. You ready? Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I am so glad that you're here with me today. It's just you and me today in this minisode. And I got the idea to do this minisode a while ago, and it's sort of just been sitting in my Google folder where I keep all of my notes and show notes and things like that. And I think I decided to record it because, I don't know, maybe I'm going through the same thing. Perhaps I can neither confirm nor deny. That often happens that even with books, I need the information and the advice in the book. So I just write it because I'll tell you something. It sucks to feel like a hypocrite when you're writing advice that you're not taking in your own life. One of the most uncomfortable things I've experienced. So if you're wanting to take your own advice, or if you're wanting to take some good advice, maybe just start writing it, whether it's like on social media, LinkedIn. I don't know. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. One thing that I want to tell you that I'm excited about is that I'm going to start sending out emails again. If you're on my subscriber list, then you get the weekly emails about the podcast. And I'm going to start sending out not just the transcripts of these minisodes, but also emails a couple of times a month that are around, motivation, inspiration, advice, things you and I both should be listening to. So if you're not a subscriber, super easy, head on over to andreaowen.com/free. And also, if you sign up, you get a free private, secret podcast series. That's all I'm going to say about that. You're gonna have to see what's over there on that secret, exclusive podcast series. All right. You ready? Let's get into it. All right, my friends. I feel like, and I'm making this up, but I have a hunch that I'm right, that if you listen to my show, you probably consume a decent amount of self-help. Am I right? So that might look like other podcasts. I'm not mad if you're cheating on me with other podcasts, then I'm not the only one that you listen to. But personal development podcasts, maybe books. You probably follow some of the peeps on social media. Maybe you've done some workshops or retreats, seminars, that type of thing, and probably, go to therapy or have gone to therapy. And that is great. That is fantastic. And one of the kind of warning signs, whoop, whoop, those kind, is if you are someone who tends to get caught up in the perfectionism or even just high achieving in personal growth, because that can be detrimental, especially because I know a lot of you struggle with perfectionism in your life or just super high achieving. Maybe it's not perfectionism. Maybe it truly is striving for excellence, but high achieving might be one of the coping mechanisms that you use in order to feel good about yourself. And I see that a lot in personal growth, where you feel like you need to be doing it right, or you need to be like, there's certain markers or mileposts that you should be achieving, that because you're not where so-and-so is, we're making up where so-and-so is anyway in their life. We don't really know for sure because we're not them. But we compare our growth and our aha moments even to other people. And then that can make us be, really hard on ourselves and just feel like shit. And my question for you is, are you consuming so much self-help that you forget that it's okay to be human? Are you consuming so much, or maybe it's not that you're consuming so much, but you are holding it in such high regard that you forget that sometimes life hurts and is hard sometimes. In other words, I just want to remind you that it's completely normal to feel like shit at times. You know? It's completely normal to go through incredibly challenging seasons and not have ways to get out of it. I mean, I think many times we understand that, like, yeah, sometimes you get thrown a wrench in life and it sucks. But what I'm pointing to are the seasons of your life where it's messy for a minute. It might be a few months, and maybe you've fallen back on old patterns. Maybe you've even relapsed into some coping mechanisms that, where you identify with an addiction, and that is normal. We don't always have to be in a state of perpetual forward movement. And I know that you know this, right? Like, you know this from a logical standpoint. The practical part of your brain is like, well, yeah, I know that. And I agree with that. But we forget sometimes. We forget that it's normal and inevitable that we're not going to be in a state of perpetual forward movement, that sometimes we move back and sometimes we are still. It's never linear. And I'm even guilty of getting frustrated and mad and angry at myself for not, quote unquote, like doing the right thing. Like, I know how to do this better. That Maya Angelou saying is really popular. I think I'm going to write about this in my next book. The whole, like, when you know better, you do better. I don't think we always do that. I love you, Maya Angelou. May you forever rest in peace and power. And I don't think that is always true. I don't think it's always true, because Lord knows I have known better and not done better. I have known which is the right way to go, and I don't go that way. I definitely don't do it as often as I used to. And I think some of it is because I struggle with impulse control. Hello, ADHD. Yeah. Maybe not everybody's like that. Maybe you're listening and you're like, no, I always do better when I know better. My hat is off to you. I feel like you should definitely get a trophy. And I'm not saying that sarcastically. I say that in earnest. Those people deserve an award, or at the very least to put that on your resume. When I know better, I do better 100% of the time. I do not always. And I think that when we do that, that can start to feel shitty and like, oh, there must be something wrong with me. I must be doing it wrong. This is for the birds. But yeah, sometimes we move backwards, and sometimes we move backwards consciously. I don't know whether it's for the plot, whether it's out of habit, poor impulse control, whatever the reason, doesn't really matter. It's just that it happens. And I just want to normalize that. Sometimes we move backwards, and sometimes we are still, there is no movement for a long time. We might not be adopting new knowledge, new awareness, or even new skills, strategies, and tools. Sometimes we don't. It's okay. I was on Instagram, and this really amazing fitness person that I follow, Allison Tinney. I don't know if that's how you pronounce her last name. Do you ever see someone's name all the time, and then you go to say it out loud, and you're like, I have no idea if I'm saying it that way, but in my mind, it's been this way. Anyway, Allison posted about how sometimes she's not, she's a fitness professional, and that she doesn't want to do it. She doesn't want to talk about it, doesn't want to be great at fitness. And I replied, and I'm like, oh, there are times where I do not want to talk about self-help. I just want to talk about hairstyles and selling sunset, which, by the way, I'm going to make an episode about selling the OC and selling sunset, because I don't watch a whole lot of reality TV, but I watch that. And I was like, is this how they all are? I have things to say, and I will still watch it. I love it. Anyway, but that's what was my comment back to her. sometimes that's all I want to talk about because it can get exhausting to constantly be striving for betterment, to constantly be trying to go in a forward trajectory in our personal development and our personal growth. So it is okay. I'm taking a long time to remind you emphatically that it is okay to move backwards or to stay still. It is not linear. And there's going to be a lot of times in your life where you have a decent amount of negative self-talk. This is a topic I've talked about ad nauseum for over a decade now. And P.S., I did a whole audio program on it with Sounds True. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. It's all of my best material in terms of managing your inner critic. But anyway, I have told you over and over again, and I'll say it again, that the goal, if you struggle with negative self-talk, the goal is not to completely eradicate it from your life. The goal is to know very, very quickly when you're doing it, when you're in it, when your self-talk is not the nicest. So you can switch to neutrality. So hopefully you can move into more self-compassion. And as someone who's been not only teaching it for 150 years, but also doing the work in my own life, my negative self-talk is much, much better than it used to be. But sometimes it does still crop up. I'm going through really difficult times in my life when I have been just beaten down, when I've made a huge mistake, when I've had a failure, which I still have those. Yeah, my negative self-talk kicks up. So again, just another topic where it's not linear. I'm going to take a quick ad break. And when I come back, I am going to talk to you about something that I wrote about in Make Some Noise that is very much connected to this. Be right back. Shopify's already taken the cash register online, helping millions sell billions around the world. But did you know that Shopify can do the same thing at your retail store? Give your point of sale system a serious upgrade with Shopify. With Shopify, you get a powerhouse selling partner that effortlessly unites your in-person and online sales into one source of truth. Track every sale across your business in one place and know exactly what's in stock. Connect with customers inline and online. Shopify helps you drive store traffic with plug-and-play tools built for marketing campaigns from TikTok to Instagram and beyond. Get hardware that fits your business. Take payments by smartphone, transform your tablet into a point of sale system, or use Shopify's POS Go mobile device for a battle-tested solution. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/noise, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/noise to take your retail business to the next level today. Shopify.com/noise. Today's podcast is sponsored by MIDI Health. Ladies, are you over 40 like me and dealing with hot flashes, insomnia, brain fog, moodiness, some vaginal dryness, or weight gain? Don't just accept it as part of aging. These symptoms are often linked to hormonal changes during perimenopause and menopause. At MIDI Health, they get it. Their experts know what you're going through and how to help. MIDI clinicians are menopause specialists offering safe, effective, FDA-approved solutions. And guess what? MIDI care is covered by insurance. So stop pushing through it alone. Schedule a virtual visit and dive deep into your unique symptoms and health background. You'll walk away feeling heard and with a plan to start feeling better. Visit MIDI Health today and reclaim your well-being. You deserve to feel great. Book your virtual visit today at joinmidi.com. That's joinmidi.com. joinmidi.com. All right, I'm back. I want to read from you from Make Some Noise, which is my last book, in the chapter, what number is this? It is chapter 8. And the name of the chapter is Start Writing It Out and Practicing Resilience. And in the beginning of the chapter, I open it with a client of mine who had she had the emotional shit kicked out of her. She had so many circumstances going on at the same time that were just incredibly, incredibly difficult, which this had happened. I believe this was around 2017, 2018 when it happened. And earlier this year in 2023, she and I were messaging back and forth, and she was telling me just she's in such a great place and she met someone amazing and got married, and she was saying, like, I remember when I was in that place and how much it fucking sucked. Just there is so much life on the other side. Anyway, so I tell you the story about her and how she was just having a time. And in one of our coaching sessions together, she was crying and she said, I've done so much self-help work. There has to be something I can do to get me out of this, to like feeling all these difficult emotions. And here's my response to what she had said. And I'm quoting from Make Some Noise, quote, "The answer is there is no one tool. When you're going through an extremely difficult time, there is no switch you can flip that will change your circumstances or how you feel in the short term. The fantastic news here is that our human brains were made for change and resilience, not for staying stuck, but for growing, learning, and bouncing back from miserable situations. You have to persevere. You have to put one foot in front of the other, even if it's merely a shuffle in your slippers. In many ways, our culture tells us that the goal is to always be happy, on a positive trajectory, and successful. Needless to say, those aren't bad things. They're all what we want. And to get there, we all go through hard and sometimes miserable times. What I'm wanting you to look at is your judgment of it, your resistance and avoidance of it, and if in any way you hide these struggles. Just as the sun rises and sets, you're guaranteed to have times in your life when the sun is setting and rising, or in other non-metaphorical words, you're guaranteed to have shitty times in your life and great non-shitty times too. I promise you, the harder you resist that place, the more it will kick your ass. The more frantic you are when you're in there, the longer you will stay there. The more you make yourself wrong for even being there in the first place, the more you will feel like an epic failure. The point of life and for making it outstanding isn't to avoid these troublesome places. It's to stumble into them, trudge through, and come out more badass for having gone through it in the first place. You came here to make some noise in your life. You came here not to be the most fragile of flowers, but to be the type of flower that can weather the storm, survive the winter, and even perhaps survive being stomped on in a zombie apocalypse. You came here to be persistent and powerful. Okay. Sometimes I read back my own writing and I'm like, that was pretty good. That was pretty good, Andrea. Okay, and it continues. I have several tools for walking through, but I'm only going to talk to you about one of them. And I think there's at least 5 or 6, but it's the very, very last one that I talk about in this chapter. And the subheading is, you were made for this. You ready? Okay. Allow me to get spiritual with you for a moment. Whether you believe me or not, you have fire in your soul. Your mother's mother's mother, and on until the beginning of time from the motherland, all of those women have experienced strife, challenges beyond our imagination, and somehow made it long enough to have a daughter. Thousands of years and countless generations later, here you are. Your ancestors have traveled, and not in first class on a passenger airplane, sometimes against their will, weathered literal storms with possibly not the best shelter, dealt with pandemics, other illnesses, various traumas, and probably endless joy and happiness as well. Being resourceful and resilient and riding out hard times is in your blood. You were born with everything you need. It's part of the human experience, and sometimes remembering that can help you get through the challenging time, get through the day, or get through the hour. End quote. That's the end of that chapter. And actually, there's a little bit more, as there are. It is in every chapter in this book. That was from Make Some Noise, my 3rd book. I don't know about you, but I especially needed to hear that last part as I navigate through a very challenging separation and divorce on my hands over here. So if that's you, I see you. If you're someone who's navigating a hard time or have in the past and you are hard on yourself around it and making up that you should be stronger, be better at it, be in a different place, my hope is that this minisode has helped you have immense compassion for yourself and have just the understanding and knowledge that you were built for this. As much as, quote unquote, this might suck right now, it's part of the human experience, and you were built for this. I believe in you. And with that, dear listener, remember, it's our life's journey to make ourselves better humans and our life's responsibility to make the world a better place. Bye for now. Hey everyone, thanks again for listening. I would be so incredibly grateful if you haven't done so already, if you could leave a review of this podcast on Apple Podcasts. Super easy if you already listen to your shows over there. But if you don't, or maybe you have the app on your phone, but you listen to the show on a different app, if you could leave a review for this show, it matters so much. I wish I could express how much it matters. I also wish that it didn't matter so much, but alas, it does. So if you haven't already, please go review and rate the show. It would mean so much to me. And thank you so much. I hope you have an amazing day.
I'd like to introduce you to the Minimalist Moms podcast. It's hard enough being a mom, and the last thing you need is stress from too much stuff and an overcrowded schedule. For too long, I lived with the mindset that bigger was better, and the more I added to my life, instead of feeling better, I felt overwhelmed. It was time for a radical new mindset. Less is more. I'm not into extremes. I didn't throw everything away. My brand of minimalism is more about adding than subtracting. Get rid of the excess to make room for what you love. In other words, it's about living life with purpose. I hope you'll listen in, and my guest and myself can inspire you to think more and do with less. The Minimalist Moms podcast, available wherever you listen to podcasts.